Here at the 2022 SEMA show, Dodge made big news by having a dedicated display devoted to their wide portfolio of muscle. Now I'm here early before things really get revved up for an inside look. For those details, I'm joined by Kevin Hellman, head of Dodge Muscle Car Products. Man, Kevin, you guys have an awesome gathering of cars here. Starting with, I know a lot of the ones that are getting a lot of attention are these last call editions.
Yes. Yep.
Let's start with this one right here. What's the name of it and what are some of the highlights?
Okay. This is called the Black Ghost. It's based on our 797 horsepower Red Eye model. As you can see, it comes standard with the wide body. Some of the unique features specific to this, one, you'll get a bump up to 807 horsepower, but visually it has a lot of these heritage touches, and that goes back to kind of the story of this car, which goes back to a police officer actually back in Detroit in the 70s by the name of Godfrey Qualls. And he would take his car and he would go and participate in these street races, and then he would disappear. So he kind of got this Black Ghost moniker because no one really knew who it was. He would come up, show up, race, and then take off again. So it's kind of the mystique around this car, and so we wanted to celebrate that story, that passionate customer and kind of advocate for the Dodge brand. So you'll see this gator skin roof on the top.
Very cool.
Very reminiscent of the 70s muscle cars that had the vinyl roofs, as well as the white stripe over the back, the bright finish on the wheels, and you'll see some kind of more the heritage badging on the side, and even the Dodge on the front. So some kind of heritage touches, but also celebrating the most powerful model that we have for the Challenger lineup.
Sure. So from this sinister ride, we move over to a eye-popping orange King Daytona.
Yes.
Now, where does that name come from?
So that is similar to this car and kind of celebrating both a person and a vehicle. The King Daytona is the same. So that celebrates a fan of Dodge, but also a member of the muscle car community by the name of Big Willie Robinson out in LA back in the 60s and 70s. And he was a proponent of getting crime off the streets and using the car culture to do that. And so he worked with LAPD to open up Terminal Island to have legal street racing there to get it off the streets. And so he was a big proponent of that, and he used his car, which was a 1969 orange Daytona, and he called it the King Daytona. And his wife had the Queen Daytona. So we're celebrating him, we're celebrating that story, and doing it with, as you mentioned, our eye-popping Go Mango orange color, the closest thing that we had to the original 69. And that one, again, kind of a little bit mirrors the car here on the Black Ghost with the bright wheels, the brighter badging. And then on the inside of this one, you'll see some orange stitching, so kind of carrying that bright orange all the way throughout, some stitching on the back, and then a King Daytona badge on the IP, just to kind of commemorize it. So these two cars will be both making 300 each of those. So these are the most limited of the special editions, correct.
All right, now from there we go back to the dark side. We have a Challenger Shakedown.
Correct.
Okay, now what are the details on that?
So whereas the first two were based on our Hellcat Red Eye model, this one is based on our 392 Scat Pack wide body. And this car actually is perfect to have here at SEMA because that actually pays tribute to a concept car that we did in 2016, which was a 1971 Challenger that was showcasing at the time our 392 crate engine. So it has the same look, that same stripe that kind of follows around the shaker, almost the exact same wheels, and then that black and red treatment to the inside and outside of the car. So again, that one is super special for us, but also special kind of here at SEMA to kind of bring that back and close that loop. That one, as you see there, is black and wide body. We'll also be doing a version of that is the narrow body version of the Challenger, but will be in Destroyer Gray.
And how many quantities is that going to be limited to?
We'll be doing 500 each, so 500 black and 500 Destroyer Gray.
All right, now from there we've got a pair of related green muscle cars. What's the deal on these swingers?
So Swinger is, kind of going back, like I said, all of these models have a tie back to something in Dodge's past. And while the Swinger name was never applied to a Charger or Challenger, it was well known, with a Mopar tie and a Dodge tie. So we applied it to both the Charger and Challenger. You'll kind of see this green theme for the two that we have here. They'll actually also be available in white. So 3 colors available on each of the cars. With the Sublime that we have here on the Challenger, you'll see it has a black stripe over the back. Over here on the F8 green Charger, it has what we call, I think, avocado stripe. So it's a little bit more of a kind of tone on tone. But what really stands out here is, again, these heritage finishes and designs. And so we have what we call gold school finish here on the wheels and on the shaker. And that finish is also used throughout on the badging inside and out. And then that green theme carries in through the stitching. Again, kind of, notice the theme, but a green stitching throughout the interior. the badging on the IP, and then what's really cool is a nice little tie to a little bit more subtle than it was in the 70s. But we had a back then you'll remember the wood paneling that went through the cars. So we took a little play on that, our designers did, and you'll see it's wood grain texture, but on our normal aluminum lithograph on the IP. So kind of a cool little nod to those.
Very cool. And quantities on these?
So there's going to be 1,000 of each, 500 of the F8 green, 300 white, and 200 of the Sublime. And then on Challenger, the Sublimes will all be manual. So one thing about all of these, while Dodge is known for our customization and build it in a million different ways, one thing about all these cars is they will be built in one spec and then sent out to the dealers.
Cool. Now rounding out the set, we have this purple Charger. What's the details on this?
So that is our Charger Super B. Again, like the past few that we've talked about, that's based on our Scat Pack model, so the 392 Hemi. And if you're familiar with the Challenger lineup today, we have what's called the 1320, which is kind of our drag racing focus model. This is essentially a similar application tied to the Charger this time around. So this car has all of our standard drag radials, and on the wide body here, 18-inch wheels. So you'll have your 305 drag radials with 18-inch wheels standard. You'll see the heritage graphics again on this one, on the hood and on the side. But this one is more than an appearance package, kind of like the rest of these. This will include our trans brake, our drag mode, all of the stuff inside like the 1320 that really makes it focused on the drag strip. And this one also is available in narrow body and wide body. The wide bodies will be all Plum Crazy, and then the narrow bodies will be all B5 Blue. We'll be doing 500 each of those.
Now, Kevin, from those we transition to arguably the crown jewel in this year's Dodge display, the Charger Daytona SRT concept. Mm-hmm. This has wowed everyone since you guys showed it off at Dodge Speed Week earlier this summer. But I love how in true SEMA fashion, you guys took that car that was on the world stage and you guys have modified it, tuned it, tweaked it a little bit for its debut here. What are some of the changes since we last saw this?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, like you can't come to SEMA and not have done something, right? So we had to do something to it. So you can see the first thing, most obvious, is the Striker Red paint job. So while not exactly the same, it kind of is a throwback a little bit to the Striker Red that was on the Viper back in the day. So very close in nature to that color, and just, I mean, the perfect muscle car color. So we had to do something there. But then the next thing that, pretty hard to miss is the 18-inch carbon fiber wheels wrapped in drag radials all around. So
nice.
Being all-wheel drive, you got to have the radials on all four. So, obviously, drag racing is important to Dodge, and we really wanted to showcase, although a concept, how does this concept continue to fill what Dodge brand is and how we see it in the future. So, and then kind of lastly, the big thing is not much to see here as far as this goes, but as part of our SEMA announcement, we did announce kind of what we see as our performance levels available on the future of this car and kind of the future electrification. So you'll see here on a badge it says Stage 2, and we're kind of talking about it. We really see 3 main levels with 2 stage kits available for each. And so, and I think we kind of talked to that before, but now we're kind of talking about numbers a little bit, which everyone was kind of waiting for at Speed Week. So our base condition is a 340 kilowatt, 400 volt system. That's around 455 horsepower. And then we're going to walk you all the way up to a Stage 2 on kind of the middle ground, be a 500 kilowatt. It's around 670 horsepower. So we are, we're fully interested in continuing the Dodge performance message and doing it with this EV here. So really excited about the response that we've had here. Especially to our exhaust. So one thing that's very unique to this car that I'm sure you've heard and seen, and mixed reviews so far, but it is getting people talking, getting people excited because it is so different. And so on our exhaust, we actually are doing some research here as well at SEMA on the different tuning. So we're it is a concept, so the job's not done. We're going through and we're trying to figure out what the right tune needs to be for what a muscle car sounds like in the future. So.
So there you have it. A big thanks to Kevin, and the crazy thing is we didn't even cover everything here on display. It's readily apparent to anyone walking through their booth this year that Dodge is serious about performance as they charge into the future. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for more Mecum on the Move.